Hi, I'm Roger from EVANNEX. Today we're going to be talking about the installation of the Blade and Gotham Spoiler. The installation of these spoilers is relatively straightforward. The most important thing you need to do is to be sure that the spoiler is properly aligned on the trunk hatch. We're going to show you how to do that and then how to install the spoiler. The first big issue is simply how we center the spoiler on the trunk hatch. And the way we do that is we look for centering points. There are two body creases here and on the driver's side. We're going to use those to help center. In addition, we're going to use the tip of the Tesla T, including the little triangle here, which does represent a pure center point on the hatch itself. Before we get to that, I'm going to actually mark the two creases in blue tape. By the way, the most important issue at this point is never ever remove this red tape on the bottom of the spoiler until you're ready to attach it to your trunk hood. All of the alignment, all of your placement, and all of your adjustments occur while this red tape is on the spoiler. That allows you to put it down, take it up with no problem. Once the red tape is removed, you have adhesion, and then you can't move it. Okay, what we're doing here is just placing a piece of blue tape to give us an alignment. We don't push it all the way down to the end, but just like this. You don't have to do this if you trust your eye, but this edge represents the line of the body crease, and it's not a bad idea to do it, just to kind of give you a feeling for where you are. We do this on both the driver and passenger side. I would strongly recommend that you use blue painter's tape because it will not hurt the surface of your car, and it can be very easily put on and removed. Before we begin with alignment, the first thing I want to emphasize yet again is be absolutely certain you haven't removed this red tape from the adhesive. This should be on there while we do the alignment. We begin simply by dropping the spoiler down gently onto the rear hatch, aligning the bottom edge to the bottom edge of the hatch. You can do this just by feel with your finger. We then move the spoiler across until it appropriately aligns to the edges of the body crease. Now, that's not exact. We just use these edges to allow us to have an equal set of distance here and here. And we can just adjust by eye, moving the spoiler until we have a placement that's kind to your eye. Now, we're not done yet, but once we have this guy placed, we can move on to the next step. But first, I want to show you the Gotham spoiler. This is the Gotham spoiler. It represents a different design than Blade, and the design that you like depends on your personal aesthetic. You'll note there are these two wings at the end of the spoiler, and the overall lift of the spoiler is slightly higher than the Blade. However, the installation remains the same. Our approach remains the same, but we need to align it slightly differently because the spoiler is slightly larger than the Blade spoiler. So let's talk about aligning the Gotham spoiler. You'll notice that with the Gotham spoiler and also with the Blade, the first thing we do is align along the trunk hatch edge, and we can do that just by finger feel. Okay. Once we have it reasonably aligned, we then have to center the spoiler, and to do that we use the creases on the trunk hatch themselves. We place it down and look at the distance between the edge of the crease and the tip of the spoiler. We then move over to the other side, in this case the driver's side, and do the same thing, trying to get a visual feel for how far this edge is from that tip. We can stand back away from the spoiler, take a look at it to see whether it is adequately aligned. And if in fact we see a slight variation, we simply tip it over, move it over just a tiny bit so that in fact we get the alignment that we like. It's very important to note that the red tape is still on the bottom of the spoiler, and that allows you to lift it up and move it and slide it with no problem. Again, just to be careful, you don't remove the red tape until you're ready to install the spoiler. Here we have the blade spoiler properly aligned using the techniques that we've already talked about. We now need to find the center of the spoiler. And we do that because we're getting ready to adhere it, and we need something to align to, because once we remove the red tape, we will not be able to slide it back and forth. The way we find the center is really very simple. We get a 7 or 8 inch piece of blue tape. Without touching the spoiler, being very gentle, we align the tape with the tip of the Tesla T and the notch in the Tesla T. We can actually put it and actually attach it here. Oops, wait a minute. Here and here. And then we just simply move it up vertically and place it on the spoiler gently without moving the spoiler. Now, this is our center line, but it's worth marking it just so you don't forget. So let's mark it. All we need to do here is simply mark the center line. So I just put a little arrow here with a CL indicator just to remind me that this edge of the tape is the center line, because you can forget. We now remove the tape from the Tesla T, but not from the spoiler. We can wrap it underneath like this, and then we'll just lift up the spoiler and remove it for now. Once I've removed the spoiler, I just want to tear the tape off so that I can, without doubt, refine the center. Now, one thing that I think I should do is mark the portion that is untorn. So I'm just going to put a little arrow right over here. So I remember that this edge is the center point. I can then tear the tape here. All right, in preparation for alignment, we take our tape, run it through the notch and the tip of the T. Notch and tip of the T, just as we did earlier. And then fold it over and down just like this, so that we can use this edge right here as an aligning mechanism when we put the spoiler with live adhesive onto the car. When you replace the tape, we can trim it just a little bit to kind of make sure that it's out of the way. We're now getting ready to actually adhere the spoiler to the hatch surface. In order to do that, we have to be very sure that the hatch surface is perfectly clean. And the way to do that is to use a little bit of alcohol on a paper towel and clean the surface about 4 inches in from the edge of the hatch itself. So let's just pour a little bit of alcohol onto a paper towel, place this on the ground temporarily, and just work from side in, cleaning the hatch surface. We have to let that dry. I would suggest waiting a minute or two so that it dries, and this will take off any oil or other dirt that might appear. And then we wait a minute or two, allowing it to dry. Alcohol dries very quickly, but no less. Let's be sure it's dry. We're now ready to go live to bare the adhesive by removing the red tape and installing the spoiler, in this case the blade spoiler, on the rear hatch surface of the Model S. In order to remove the tape, we simply pull up the corner and pull. This is now, this gray area here is live adhesive. Don't let it touch anything. It's very strong and very sticky. We do the same thing for each of the other surfaces until we have all of the red tape removed. At this point, with the red tape removed and the adhesive live, we're ready to do our install. We now align the center with the center point here. Notice I'm not touching the surface any longer. Align the edge with the edge here, and we should be all set. We don't have to worry about the ends because the center will fix the ends. So now we take the spoiler, lower it carefully and tilt it upward and align this edge with this edge. That allows us to center the spoiler. We also, however, have to be concerned with this edge here aligning with this edge here. So we simply drop the spoiler down gently. Do not press down hard so that you have some flexibility to pull it off if it's not right. And that's the case here, for example. Pull it up a little bit. You can see how strong this is. Press this down. There we go. We got that. Move down here. We got this. Press down. And we're going to adhere it in a little bit stronger a fashion in just a moment. We can use a soft paper towel or a nice cloth and press down hard, smoothing the spoiler as you go. It's already adhered. It's not going to go anywhere. But this will just allow us to be sure that the spoiler adheres to the surface. We then simply remove the tape here, here, and here. And we have a perfectly aligned, strong adhesion blade spoiler on our Model S. I think it looks pretty cool. It's worth noting that both the Blade and the Gotham spoiler allow you to reimagine your Model S. They give you a new way to give it a new look. The Blade spoiler is a relatively simple look. It provides you with a nice slice like a blade across the entire hatchback and provides a new sporty aspect to the Model S. The Gotham spoiler has these two elevated wing elements, which gives a more pronounced look for your Model S. Both adhere in identically the same way. Both are made by identically the same material. The look that you like is fully dependent on your personal aesthetic. Both the Blade and the Gotham spoiler are available at EVANNEX.com.